It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Gay, Rhode Island Rep. Jacob.
Hi everybody. I want to thank Moms Demand Action for organizing this event, and to all of the elected officials that are here showing their support day in and day out until we get some sensible reform passed. I want to offer a unique perspective in this debate. Well, hardly a debate. As a young boy, I always knew that I was gay. In first grade, I had a crush on a boy named Patrick, and there were subsequent crushes throughout school until my closet was a little too small and I came out at age 14. And what is interesting between when I had that first crush and when I came out is what I learned about what it means to be gay, and I think many folks in the LGBTQ plus community would say what it means to identify as other sexual orientations and gender identities. And what I learned is that there is not a lot of positive representation of people like me. There simply aren't as many people like me around that I can learn from. And there are many people that do not understand what it is like to have a different sexual orientation or gender identity. And what I learned is, as a result, that has two powerful implications. One is that it gives others a sense of permission to do harm onto me. And two, the forces of feeling alone and isolated are so powerful that it makes members of my community disproportionately feel like they can do harm on themselves. When it comes to others doing harm on us, for those of us that have the privilege of being out of the closet, whenever we step outside, we make what feels like an impossible choice. Every day, I will say personally, I live in fear of, if I put on a pair of heels, if I wear my sash, if I express love to my partner, if I express my gender the way that I want, that will give somebody permission to harm me. So what does our community do when faced with this impossible decision? We create spaces that are for us. We have our own bars, our own nightclubs, sports league, coffee shops, medical facilities. We have spaces where, for a moment, we can be liberated of fear and pressure to be someone that we are not, and the fear of the consequences of expressing ourselves the way we want outside in the world. And those spaces are important. And what happened in 2016 at Pulse was a violation of our space. It was a violation of space that we made for ourselves when nowhere else felt safe. The LGBT community is the second highest classification of hate crimes that are reported and classified as hate crimes. Gay men are more likely to experience gun violence as a result of those hate crimes. And our space was violated by a horrific mass shooting. There is nowhere that is safe for us anymore. This issue of gun violence is an LGBTQ plus issue. And as much as this is, I hope, informative, it is also a call to action to everyone in our community who is unsure of how to mobilize and in a post-marriage equality world, what issue to focus on, this is one of those issues. And we, as I mentioned earlier, we know that the pressure of isolation and not seeing people that are like you has an enormous implication on the mental health of our community. We experience suicide attempts and suicides at a higher rate than our peers. As a suicide attempt survivor, I can tell you that having access to a gun would have ensured that I committed suicide. And I will give a shout out to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline for being there for me and so many members of our community. So while I think that there are a number of issues that still need to be addressed to prevent violence against my community, I will say that reducing access to weapons to hurt my siblings, enabling red flag legislation to prevent people who have expressed doing harm to my siblings, these are easy things, sensible things to do. And I beg the Senate to please come back from recess and pass these sensible measures so my siblings can stay safe.